It should be broadcasting now.
Okay, it is 6:34 and I call to order the September 21st meeting of the Norwalk Traffic Authority. We have a quorum, Mayor Rilling, Commissioner Frank Collier Clemens, Commissioner Straniti. First item on the agenda is public participation. Do we have anybody here who is wishing to address the Traffic Authority?
Yes, Mayor, I do see Diane CC has her hand up. Anyone else, if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand electronically and I will unmute you and please give your name.
Okay, so the chair recognizes Diane CC.
Good evening, everyone. This is Diane Cece with the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. And I believe we're actually an agenda item tonight as a discussion item at the end of your agenda regarding the Norton Place special permit application.
That's correct.
With the truck routes.
Mhm.
So, I don't know if, because ENNA actually conflicts with your meeting now at 7 o'clock, if we can move the item up under public comment, or if you'd rather wait, and if I have to jump off to go run the other meeting, I believe staff provided you with a detailed letter we sent on a number of concerns we have.
Now, I read your letter and you probably would be, you can do it right now. We'll listen to you now.
Okay, thank you. And I'll try to be as brief as I can because I know you all did get the letter. Just briefly, this is a special permit application to change an industrial use up at Norton Place to be under the designation of warehousing and distribution. It sounds like a matter of semantics, but distribution coupled with warehousing means a lot of in and out traffic there. The applicant and their attorney made a presentation to the board of directors of ENNA at the end of August and walked us through their proposed plan. And primarily, we have a bunch of concerns regarding the traffic. The nature of their business will be primarily trucks. With those trucks, they'll mostly be tractor trailers, the length of which will be 62 feet to 67 feet. Their OSTA, which is the state traffic authority who reviews these applications, as you know, only within their purview are the state routes. So they would have looked at 136, US 1, and parts of, I think, Riverside Avenue that go out to Westport Avenue. They did not look at Strawberry Hill Avenue or East Avenue because those are not state roads. And when I spoke with the folks from OSTA, they were also not aware that Strawberry Hill is the primary recommended truck route for this application. And as you all know, there's 3 public schools on that road, in addition to a private preschool on that road. The secondary recommended route that they have is I-95 to exit 16, coming off of 16 onto East Avenue. And because they know that the bridge work won't allow tractor trailers under there yet, their route would suggest that tractor trailers come off the highway north and south, take a left onto Fitch Street, and then take a left onto Strawberry Hill. The volume of trucks is estimated based on the ITE modeling at 198 tractor trailers a day. And we're not sure yet if the operation is 7 days a week or 6 days a week and the hours. But I would suggest to you that the reason why we're coming to you is, even though you approved no significant finding for the state routes, because that's all that OSTA asked you to do, because we have these significant 2 other roads, Strawberry Hill, East Avenue, and then Fitch, that this volume of trucks is going to be not only dangerous, but potential gridlock within East Norwalk. And at the same time, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but if this gets approved by the zoning commission, it has to go to public hearing. If it gets approved, they're looking to be operational in the first quarter of 2021. And DPW can tell you that that is shortly before or right around the same time the East Avenue project goes out to bid. And it's also in conjunction with the epicenter of all of the walk bridge work as well. So the volume of trucks coming through either East Avenue or Fifth or Strawberry Hill, we think poses a real serious problem. While the traffic authority has no authority to act just based on volume, and the state only asked you to act upon the state roads, ENNA, the neighborhood association, is asking you to act on our behalf and provide your professional opinions back to the zoning commission, who is reviewing this application. They expect the applicant to come back for their secondary review on October 1st. And ENNA has been told to expect that, and we expect it's possible they'll go to public hearing as soon as the end of October or the beginning of November. In addition to these tractor trailer traffic, we're concerned with speed because the nature of these businesses are time dependent with these drivers. And if you're in East Norwalk at all, you already know what the speed is of the factor of, FedEx, UPS, and all the other delivery companies. But there are also, because the state didn't look at any of our local roads, they didn't consider maneuverability. So to get a 67-foot tractor trailer coming off of Fitch Street, say turning onto East Avenue, taking a right, they know it's not maneuverable with a 62 to 67-foot tractor trailer. Their suggested solution to that is that they'll simply wait for the queue of cars at the intersection to clear before they make their turn. Well, Mr. Esragi and Mr. Yosak are on this call, and they can tell you that that intersection seldom clears unless it's, very late at night or in the middle of the night. So we have some concerns with maneuverability, with speed, with the fact that we have the bike lanes on Strawberry Hill. I pointed out already to you that Strawberry Hill is a federally funded safe route to schools route as well. So the improvements we did to make it safe that taxpayers paid for, we're concerned about with the trucks. Of course, the other concern is the I-95 interchange. We don't understand why OSTA didn't actually take a look at East Avenue as a state road. Even though it's not state road designated, we have the two entrances and exits at I-95. So it's certainly impacted by I-95, which is a state road. And they didn't consider maneuverability or gridlock there. There isn't any solution there that I think the traffic authority can come up with, and don't, we already know what happened with don't, block the box there. So there's a number of concerns: the gridlock, the maneuverability, the volume, the routes that they're suggesting. Even if they took the primary route that's suggested for trucks, which is to come off, the primary route to come off is exit 17 actually in Westport, and have them go out to Riverside Avenue to US 1, travel down US 1 and take a left onto Strawberry Hill. But there's nothing that compels a truck driver to do that. And when I-95 is clear southbound, we're suggesting that it makes more sense where they think they're going to get off at 16, take a left onto East Avenue. And going northbound, why would they pass 16 when they know that they can go down Fitch, albeit with difficulty, and go all the way to 17 and then come back down, or go out to the post road and go up. So even the suggested routes don't make sense to us. That's it in a nutshell. I could probably give you a lot more details on this. The volume of trucks, I think I told you, is 198 per day. That's in addition to the vehicular traffic that they estimate based on workers and other activity there. And those are estimated at 376 vehicle trips per day. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Our ENNA has our monthly meeting with the public this evening, so I would like to update them. But also we have our board meeting, and I'm happy to answer any questions and pass along any of your concerns, or if you think that you can assist our community in advising the zoning commission on concerns with this. Thank you.
Well, we're certainly going to be taking a look at this issue. I think we all have a lot of questions. One thing I wanted to ask, I haven't seen the report yet, so they actually said there would be 198 tractor trailers per day?
Yes. So the 198 tractor trailers are per day. In fact, we thought we misread it at first. When their applicant and their attorney presented to the ENNA board, they walked us through the traffic specs that they gave to OSTA. And both of those numbers are per day, 198 truck trips per day. The important thing to take a look at that too, Mayor, is that, and Mike Yosak can speak to this later, maybe in your discussion item. The only modeling they were able to do is based on warehousing. And so they weren't able to do modeling from ITE that factored in distribution center.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if that means it would be less trucks, but everything in my mind suggests it will be significantly more. It just may be that the more truck volume may be more of the larger box trucks. But the applicant themselves and their traffic expert did tell us that the majority of the 198 truck trips per day will be the 62-foot to 67-foot tractor trailers.
Do any of the other commissioners have any comments or questions right now? Just from my perspective, I think this is something we have to watch closely, see what the position of the traffic authority, not the position, but what the authority of the traffic commission would be relative to this issue. Mr. Ashragi or Mr. Yosak, would we be within our rights to ask for a traffic study independent of the one that would only look at state roads?
I mean, we have, the traffic authority can look at the safety and the signage and the markings. I don't believe we can look at the environmental or quality of life issues. So we certainly can probably, look at the traffic study a little bit more detail for safety.
Well, yeah, but I was wondering, because it will have seemingly, based on the traffic report, have a significant impact on local roads. And I think we need to look at that perhaps a little bit more closely and see what that impact would be, and what the traffic authority's authority would be relative to what our findings would be.
Maybe the best thing is I can check with Corporation Counsel, maybe.
If you would, and I think we would like to probably have an answer sooner rather than later on that.
Sure.
I mean, it would be good to have the report first, so we can take a look at the report,
Right.
all the numbers, the volumes, and classification, and everything else, and then we can talk about it. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, to me, I mean, the 198 tractor trailers per day is a shocking number. That's
Don't know how to.
especially going through, and as Miss Cece said, down Strawberry Hill Avenue with 3 schools and a preschool and a safe routes to school. So let's take a look at that and see what, if we should have a traffic study of our own, local traffic study. That might be something that we could recommend to the zoning commission. And it is a special permit, so we would have to take a strong look at that.
I think also too, outside of the legal responsibilities of the traffic authority, you could also issue a statement under public comment, or just from coming out of the traffic authority, any of the city agencies can make comment on an application.
Mhm.
And I did want to mention one other thing. When Mr. Yosak mentions that one of the factors that you do take into account is speed and safety and markings. It seems to me, Mike, you'll find this funny, but Hal Halford never really divulged to us where all the cameras are that are speed triggered. And, but we've always suspected at least one on Strawberry Hill is triggered to go red on speed. So if that is the case, we were also thinking, we took a look at the, how long it takes the 67-foot, 80,000-pound tractor trailer to stop. And so depending on where the speed trigger is on Strawberry Hill, if that truck hits it and it's speeding and it creates a red light, either at Tierney or at Beacon, I think that's going to be a very dangerous situation from the time that light is yellow to the time an 80,000-pound tractor trailer could stop. And Fred could correct me if I'm way off base, because I don't even play a traffic engineer on TV. So does that sound right?
Well, just to clarify, regarding those traffic signals that you mentioned that they turned red, and a certain, speed of the, motorist, the only traffic signal that we have this option on it. It's the one that's in Capastro Beach.
Yeah.
That's the only one, and we just did that because of the traffic calming. We just want to make sure that cars and the traffic goes slow, and it's just a matter of time for them. So if they hit
Okay.
their speed, which is 25, it will turn to red, and then they have enough time to stop because it's about
Okay.
400 feet. But as far as
Gotcha.
other signals, so they are all either up, on the coordination time, or they are in fixed time. Again, so have it, big tractor trailer on those kind of road like Strawberry Hill Avenue. I really, it's definitely needs to be, looked at. And then, so, sometimes
Okay.
we may
Thank
need to
you.
change those and extend the yellow. So it's not just to allow those tractor trailer come to the, route like the Strawberry Hill Avenue. There's a lot involved with this, definitely.
Right. And,
Well,
the
Mr.
last thing
Yosak-
I'd ask you to look at is queuing, so that there's no queuing. Because I think you also, that also falls under you with queuing on public roads and idling as well. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Yosak, if you could, sooner rather than later, reach out to the law department. I believe that we do have the authority to have a traffic or request a traffic study. And we can do that of the zoning commission. The zoning commission probably, or most likely, would request it on their own. But I think with a strong recommendation from the traffic authority, I think they would look at it a little bit more seriously. And so let's look at that. Talk to the whether we have a right to call for a traffic study, or whether we would recommend one to the zoning commission.
I will do that, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cece. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the traffic authority? I see a Mr. Neil Olinsky there. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's anyone else that would like to participate, please raise your hand now electronically and state your name. And I will unmute you if you raise your hand. Mayor Rilling, I do not see anyone else looking to participate.
Okay, well then let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be approve the minutes of the traffic authority meeting of Monday, July 21st, 2020.
Hey, Greg.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move the minutes.
Yeah, so I made you host.
I'm sorry? Mr. Yosak, you're muted. I don't know what you're...
No, that was Larry. I think he was accidentally speaking to somebody else.
Okay, so Commissioner Frank Collier Clemens moved the minutes. Any corrections, deletions, additions, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is approve the no parking regulations for Heather Lane as shown on the proposed drawing titled Heather Lane. Mr. Yosak or Mr. Ashragi?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Basically, we took the suggestion that you made at a previous meeting back, I think it was January or February, to alternate the parking on Heather Lane. We have reached out to the neighborhood. Got some remarks from them. They're okay with most of them are okay with the alternate parking, although there are one or two saying that it might not be enough parking on the street with that, and that they will have everybody parking in front of their yard, but they're okay with it. There's some that we're looking at the one-way option, but at this time we don't think it's a good thing to pursue right now because of the difficulties of getting out the intersection on Strawberry Hill, and it might increase the accidents and congestion around the schools. So we'd like to try this option first.
Commissioners, I need a motion to move the item. I'm sorry, I should have had that before.
I'll move it.
Commissioner Stradini moves the item. Any questions from the commissioners or further discussion?
Yes, the question I have is, for how long are we going to study to see if this is appropriate or if we need to do an additional change to that street?
Uh, and um, we could probably look at it for like 2 or 3 months and see how it's working. I think the worst time is right now because school is just starting again and new parents and new traffic patterns are in place. And we'll give it time to work its way through and maybe repoll the residents uh, maybe sometime around, uh, well, it would take us probably about 2 or 3 weeks to put this in place at least. So maybe sometime the
Next
beginning
year.
of next year,
In January,
January.
possibly?
Yes.
Okay.
You,
That's good.
Commissioner, you could make a motion that we approve it with a condition that we come back with a report at a certain time.
Okay. I'd like to move that we approve this proposed change for Heather Lane with the condition that at our January meeting, we will have a report as to how well this is working or if we need an additional proposal.
Okay, so that's the motion made. Any further discussion, Commissioner Sterniti?
Yeah, I'm just happy to see that there's finally a resolution on it. I know there was a lot of back and forth and the residents were really frustrated. And I know everybody has worked really hard on this together to get something that works for the residents and works for the city and works for the people that are traveling through that street as well. So I'd be interested to see also how it's going after it's been in place a few months. Hopefully by January, hopefully that gives us enough time because I think we want to see at least a snowfall too and see what happens with the plow truck trying to get through and things like that. So I think if not, then we could maybe come back again afterwards. But I also think that the residents do a good job of letting us know, how they feel about it too. I'm sure that, if there's an objection, they'll come back. We might hear sooner rather than later. So, but so far it sounds good and I'm interested to see how it goes. So grateful for all the people that put so much hard work into it. Thanks.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Clemens? I think we lost her.
She looks like it's frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, so she made the motion, so I would imagine she's in favor, so I would vote in favor. And the motion is carried. Yes, we lost her, so she'll hopefully be coming back. Now, the next item on the agenda, approve the no parking regulations for Vollmer Avenue as shown on the proposed drawing titled Vollmer Avenue. Do I have a motion from Commissioner Sterniti to move it?
Yes, I'll move the motion. I'll move the item. Make the motion to move the item.
Okay, staff? Mr. Yosak or Mr. Ashragi?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. So we're talking about, so this is, we had a lot of requests, for this street before as well, but this time, we take a look at it, with a lot of questions. So we had few site visit at the location and different time of the day. And so the way that this is 26 feet. So we have on-street parking allowed on both sides of the street. And but definitely we have a lot of road like this, but this road especially, we have some issue with the trucks and, emergency vehicle when cars park on both sides of the street.
Welcome back, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. And so what we recommended at the beginning, so because this thing has been going on for the last 2 months, our first recommendation was to remove the on-street parking just on the north side of the street. And as you see on the the plan that I provided, it shows which part we are removing the on-street parking. And I had letters sent to all the residents, so they get back to us and they ask me to visit the route one more time when they are there. So I meet them and I kind of agree with them between number 14 and number 18. I provide the picture as well. We're losing about 3 feet of width on the road. So it's getting so narrow that you can't even park in each side of the street. So what we did, we changed it, and I add this one to it as well. So on between number 14 and number 18, instead of one side, we're removing both sides on the street parking to make it kind of safe for the resident to be able to get out of the driveway and then continue driving. At the end of the day, we are moving the on-street park. We're recommending to remove the on-street parking on the north side and on the south side between number 14 and number 18.
And you said you had very few responses from the public or questions or issues?
Well, actually, I had a lot of responses, as most of them, agree with our suggestion because they received the letter. The only concern was the last at the end of the road that the residents called me and then they asked if I can leave the on-street parking on both sides because at the end of the road it's a little bit wider, so they have more room. And I visit the location again myself, and to me it's not something that we can justify to have 3 different kind of on-street parking in one street. So our recommendation is to remove the on-street parking from the north side and from the south side between number 14 and 18.
All right, and there's adequate on property parking for most of the residents.
Well, I looked at most of the houses. They have driveway, and then they can park their car inside of the driveways. And as I spoke with so many of them, like maybe I spoke like five different of them, and they're all okay with the situation, and then they're willing to remove the on-street from one side. Yes.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Sternini. Are there any more questions or comments?
I just would say that the pictures were really something, they were very helpful. It was like, wow, that's quite an issue.
Yeah.
We have so many of those roads actually in Norwalk, and then we're trying to just look at them as the way that the residents complaining. Yes.
One of them I know is Pedham Road. That's kind of a challenge over there.
Yeah.
If no further questions, all in favor of the proposed removal of parking on Vollmer Avenue as depicted in the material, the backup material?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Let's see what the next item is. I have to look at it here. Okay, the next item is approve the parking regulations for Washington Street as shown on the proposed overall striping plan. Do I have a motion to move that for discussion?
So moved.
Commissioner Collier-Clemens. Okay, Mr. Yosak, Mr. Ashragi, I remember last time we had some concerns about the plan and the number of spots that were removed, et cetera. Or the lane moving over. And we asked you to come back with a better plan. So tell us which way this is better.
Oh, okay.
It's the same to me.
We reduced from 15 additional parking spaces to 13 parking spaces. There's about a good 400, 500 feet before the lanes merge. This basically the reason for this lane merge is as you're coming down Fairfield Avenue at Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, you have 2 lanes of traffic that go forward for stacking reasons. Those will merge after you go through the light, and you combine into one lane there. As you go past the library and post office, it's a pretty safe maneuver. The sight line is good. The speeds are low. It adds parking onto Washington Street, so it'll keep the traffic slower, and we think it's a good plan. This will be temporary. Next year, we have a lot SIP grant to improve the streetscape, add crosswalks on Washington Street, and slow it down. So that's the other two sheets that you see in there. So those spaces will become more protected with additional crosswalks that extend the curbing out into the street a little bit.
The one question I have, and I think I might have had it before, making it one lane in front of the post office, when a lot of people will be backing in angled parking, backing in parking, that's going to stop all eastbound traffic while that person is trying to parallel park.
Yeah, it's similar to the other section of Washington Street, on the other side of North Main between Water and
Well,
South
not
Main.
anymore.
Well, yeah, just for now, yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's even tighter there.
And is the purpose of this just to add parking?
This is to add parking, yes. To take up some of the parking spaces that were removed for the other side of Washington Street.
For which other side of Washington Street?
In front of the restaurants there where the outdoor dining is.
Yeah, we've taken all that parking away so that we could have the outdoor dining. And we're under discussion right now to see if that can be, how permanent that can be. The only issue with this is, I think, based on the need to restripe and everything, once we do this, I don't think we're in a position to say, let's take another look at it in 3 months or 6 months. It's pretty permanent.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, my concern about this is the safety of those persons who are using the post office.
Yeah.
And that post office has a lot of traffic, and quite often you can't get the free parking spots that are made available for the post office because some of the business delivery cars are using those free parking spots. So, and then the cars come down so fast at times that you need that extra lane in order to get out of your car safely and go into the post office. You know, that's my concern. And I don't see a lot of businesses or people utilizing the 5 parking spaces that are beyond the post office going toward Main Street. So, you know.
Well, the other issue, well, I have 2 issues. One is I go down that way 3-4 times a day. And more often than not, I'll see somebody double parking in front of the post office. And if now they double park in front of the post office, there's no lane to get around them. Number 2, I think it's not, well, if it's being proposed to replace the parking on Washington Street where the restaurants are, I'm thinking that it's probably mostly nighttime traffic for the restaurants, and the post office is closed at that time. And nobody would be using the post office. So those spots are available for people who want to go to the restaurants, but I've not seen many people parking there and then walking to the restaurants. They generally go behind Haviland Street or the Webster Street lot, or the lot by the Maritime Aquarium. So I'm still not sure that the commission, and I'll let the other commissioners speak for themselves. I'm not sure that we're comfortable with this right now, and I'd ask for your comments and thoughts on it.
Well, one of my big concerns was the stacking at that intersection coming down from Fairfield Ave. And I still think that that might be an issue. And I think we talked about having a willingness to approve some parking, but less cars. I thought it was like 10 or something was a number that we threw out, but maybe I might be mistaken about that. So I'm still a little concerned about those two things. I don't know that taking away 2 spots solves that problem. You know, the thing that we were, like the main issue that I had from last time. I don't know if there's any comment on that.
Well, I think I've stated my position. I personally do not see the need for it because of the non-use primarily of the spaces that are already there. And I think the mayor brought up a very good point, is that the restaurants are open mostly during the night, and all of those spaces are available to them. So I think the traffic congestion that would be caused by decreasing lanes from 2 to 1 and then back into 1 would be hazardous, time consuming. It's going to, I just don't think there's going to be a lot of benefit for it on this proposal.
Excuse me, one thing that I would like to add is the connectivity. It's very important. I mean, we're just, having a vision for the future. We would like to have some sort of connection between Washington Street on the other side where all the restaurant is with the other side, which is the, 550 Washington Street is. So these parking availability, as the mayor's mentioned, they are going to be great for, the customers, for the people who wants to go to the restaurant at night, the evening, to park their car over there and then just, use the sidewalk and then connect this side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge. So this is a very positive point to me. And as far as location of the parking in front of the post office, again, Mayor mentioned a very, good point that these spots are going to be open during the day. And, restaurants are not going to, occupy, restaurant people, they're not going to occupy those, spaces during the day. So they're going to be available for the post office users. So those are the things that I would like to mention.
Well, the connectivity is a big point. I'm glad you mentioned that. I hadn't thought about it like that, but I think that it is important. I mean, I still am in favor of the concept, but I still think a little bit less. That's my opinion.
Is it possible to reduce the number of proposed spaces to just the 5 spaces that are nearer North Main and eliminate those the 8 that are in front of the post office? Is that a possibility?
We can take a look at it, yeah.
Yeah, we can certainly take a look at that. I think the bigger issue is in the future project that's kind of designed where you're actually more protected if that would be happening sometime next year. If those have a few more spaces, we would have to redesign that project.
I'm sure you all looked at the entrance and exit out of that driveway from the parking lot of 50 Washington or whatever it's called now.
Yes.
Right now that's really blind, and I see a lot of people pulling almost out into the street, into Washington Street, in order to determine whether they're going to turn right or left. They can't see the traffic that's approaching from North Main. Coming from the other side of Washington. So, with those cars parked there, I'm just wondering, what kind of hazard that might cause. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
This is just my opinion right now. I believe that there's a lot of trepidation and some concerns from the commission or the traffic authority. I'm not sure that we feel comfortable moving this forward. I don't know if the chief or deputy chiefs have any comment on any of this things we've been discussing, or apparently
No,
not.
I have nothing.
Okay. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of concern right now. So I don't know if we're comfortable moving forward, or we'd like to think about this a little longer. Or as Commissioner Straniti mentioned, maybe even reduce a few more parking places. I just, when I first heard of the plan, I was under the assumption that when they were building or redesigning the park at 50 Washington Street, that the road was going to be made a little bit wider. I didn't realize they were saying taking the parking spaces and putting them there, that it would result in making it one lane eastbound as well as one lane westbound. So that was where I was a little bit surprised. So when I originally thought the concept was a good one, I've had to rethink it based on the fact that we're narrowing it down and reducing the flow of traffic. Now, maybe making it a little bit safer by the traffic calming measure, but I'm still thinking in terms of people double parking in front of the post office. I'm thinking in terms of at night that all those spaces on the far side in front of the post office are usually empty, and I still don't see people parking there and walking to the restaurants. I go into Haviland Street parking lot. I was there the other night. There were 30 or 40 parking spaces available, at least. The same thing with the Webster Street lot. You know, I can go to Everito's, or I can walk through and, you know, I can go to any restaurant I want, parking within, you know, a quarter of a mile or less, an eighth of a mile. So I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I'm comfortable moving it right now, but if the other commissioners feel the same way, or would they feel differently?
Feel comfortable moving this for approval.
So why don't we table it and bring it back? I'll need a motion to table, which is not debatable, but we can, if that's the case, we can bring it back after we've given it some more thought, or maybe have somebody from the parking authority come before us in the next couple of months and you know, talk about the reasoning behind it.
I move that we table this proposal, and maybe at the December meeting, we could have someone from the parking authority to give us more information as to why they feel that this is necessary.
Okay. Motion to table is not debatable. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. We're going to table that for now. So the next item, and I'm scrolling on my computer here to find it. Okay, the next item is the approved no parking restriction for West Cedar Street as proposed in the traffic study for Colonial Village expansion project. I need a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Staff?
Yes, Mayor, Attorney Suchi is here to speak on that. And Mr. Olinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Yosak, Mr. Mayor, members of the Traffic Authority. For the record, my name is Liz Suchi. I'm a partner at Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy, and we represent the Housing Authority in connection with its plan to expand the housing stock that it offers at Colonial Village with a new project providing 18 structures to within which would be 69 new units of housing, both market rate, supportive, and affordable, and additional housing. The application was submitted to the Zoning Commission, and through that process, it was also forwarded to Mr. Yosak for his review. And through his review and analysis, it was decided that it might be beneficial to the neighborhood, to the roadway conditions on West Cedar, and the overall functioning of that section of town in connection with this project, to eliminate some parking on the, I guess it's the north side of West Cedar Street. So that's the reason we're before you. Present with me as well tonight is Neil Alinsky, a traffic engineer with Malone and McBroom, and he and his firm provided the traffic analysis and interacted with Mr. Yosak with respect to this request. So I think the request is rather straightforward, but I'd like Mr. Alinsky to perhaps give you a little bit more color to what I provided, if in case you would like that, or if Mr. Yosak has any other questions, or if you have any questions, we'll certainly answer them during either now or while Mr. Alinsky makes some additional comments. If that's satisfactory, may I have Neil Alinsky jump in?
That'll be fine.
Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. This is Neil Alinsky. I'm with the firm of Malone and McBroom. We worked on the traffic study for this. So as part of the review, Mr. Yosak had, well, initially in our study, we had recommended that on-street parking be removed for roughly 20 to 40 feet on either side of the proposed improved driveway on the north side of West Cedar. Mr. Yosak had reviewed the study, and he suggested that on-street parking for the basically a greater stretch of West Cedar be eliminated from roughly 40 feet east of the driveway down to all the way to Scribner, I believe, which is about 15 parking spaces. We're not opposed to that at all, and that is in essence what's before you tonight: the removal of approximately 15 on-street parking spaces.
How many spaces? I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, if I may just add, there is a section of West Cedar on the Colonial Village side, the north side of West Cedar, where it is posted as no parking today. So there would be about an additional 15 spaces through the suggestion of Mr. Yosak that would be removed or posted as no parking if this commission deems that appropriate in connection with this request.
So, first of all, maybe we should move the item. Okay, Commissioner Striniti nodded her head, so she moved the item. When is the construction supposed to start at, or when would you propose that these on-street parking be removed?
As I understand the timeline, if we get through the approval process before the end of 2020, it's my understanding the construction wouldn't commence until the end of 2021. So it's not immediate. But if the commission, if this authority is in need of a definitive date on when we believe construction would commence, I can certainly get that to you, but it would not be within this calendar year. And if anything, would be the end of next calendar year, as I understand the construction schedule. Perhaps Neil might have something different, but I think that's what we're looking at.
I think you're right, Attorney Suchi. We wouldn't want to remove them too soon. You really probably don't want to remove them until right around construction starts, or even just before the new buildings open.
As it seems like most of the items that are, as it seems like most of the items that are always on our agenda, I travel the roads frequently. Maybe I'm driving around too much, but I travel West Cedar Street, again, several times a day. And if I'm heading towards the Best Buy parking lot is the best way to explain it. I do see lots of cars on the right-hand side that are parking. And quite frankly, it's a little bit hazardous, but cars coming the other way, well, I have to drive across the cellar lane to pass by those cars. So it is a little bit dangerous, but I know the residents there rely on that parking because they have limited parking available to them elsewhere. I know they have a small parking lot at the corner of Scribner and West Cedar, and then they have the parking lot where the community center used to be. And then I don't know if and I don't know if there's any way we can determine, but there's a contractor's yard right across the street, and maybe some of the workers are parking there as well. Have we been in touch with that? Well, I know the Housing Authority is requesting this most likely. Have we been in touch with the residents there to make them aware of this?
The residents of, I can't speak to the housing authority as to what they've shared with their own residents who live in the existing 200 units at Colonial Village, but the proposed development accommodates the required number of parking spaces for those new dwellings. I think the 15 spaces that exist on West Cedar that are proposed to be removed are being proposed because of sightline issues and concerns about being able to negotiate entry and exit from the new site driveway for the new development. I drove it about a week and a half ago, and it's tough to come out of that driveway and look to the right to see traffic coming from the Best Buy site and heading, I guess, in an eastbound direction. So I think that was the genesis for Mr. Yosak's concern about on-street parking on that side of West Cedar and the benefit of removal to that neighborhood. But as far as whether or not the housing authority has spoken to its own residents about removing those 15 spaces, I can't answer that. I just don't know.
All right, why don't, and if the commission's okay with this, and Attorney Suchi and Mr. Olinsky mentioned that this is not an immediate need, why don't we ask if the traffic department and the housing authority can just notify the residents so that at least as a courtesy, and then bring it back to us in, say, at our meeting in October or November. Then we can vote on it. As long as that time frame is okay.
Just so that I'm clear, Mr. Mayor, and your request is to notify the Colonial Village residents.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an issue.
Yep. Is there any comments or questions from the commissioners?
Mayor, you mentioned that perhaps some of the workers for the business that is on the south side of West Cedar are parking there. Would we also be notifying them, getting opinion from them?
Well, we should notify everybody in that area.
Okay.
But you bring up a very, very interesting point. And is there any restriction that we can place on parking in that area for residents? I don't know. I know parking in that area for the residents is at a premium. And there is parking on Suncrest Road, but Suncrest Road is always packed. So maybe you could bring that back to us, and let's bring it back in November if Attorney Suchi and Mr. Olinsky feel that's time frame is good. And
Mr. Mayor, if I may be heard, property owners in that vicinity, and I don't mean the single-family residential property owners, but others who have businesses in that location, they're obligated to provide their own off-street parking and not
Right.
rely on on-street parking. So if they are not providing their own parking on their own sites, whether it be a contractor's yard or a small store or an office building, they are not supposed to be relying on what's available on the street.
Right.
And the abutting property owners and those across the street have all been notified of the pendency of the applications before the Zoning Commission, and will also be notified of a public hearing, which I believe is going to be scheduled for October before the Zoning Commission. So if this agency could bring this back on its agenda in October, that would be helpful to us. In the meantime, we'll try to find out what the status is with the Housing Authority's notification of its own residents. I believe they have notified them, but
Okay.
to the extent to which they have shared elimination of on-street parking, that I can't answer.
Okay, so well, let's bring it back in October.
Okay.
Any questions?
I agree.
So we'll motion to table this until October.
I move to table it till October.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you everyone for your time. And just as a sidebar, retired Police Captain Jack Suchi says hello to everyone and wishes you all his best.
Good. Well, just tell him hello as well. I know we've been putting him to the test with all the changes in the governor's executive orders.
Yes,
He had a nice head of hair. I don't know whether he still does. It was white.
it's still white.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much.
Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda, I think, those are all the action items, if I recall. Let me take a look. Well, okay, here we are. Yes, those are all the action items. And now I don't think we need to discuss the ENA request regarding Norton Place. We've already done that. And the Norwalk Transportation Master Plan is next item for discussion. Staff?
Yeah.
Who will be discussing that? Ms. Hebert or Mr. Ashragi or Mr. Yosak?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Basically, I just want to bring to your attention that in this year's capital budget, we have money for a transportation master plan to revisit the one we did about it's almost 8 years ago. And we'll be looking, because we've been getting a lot of these issues about parking, as you see, and one of the things we'll be looking at is residential parking program. So we just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention, that we'll be going out with this in the next month or so.
Okay.
Mayor, it's Catherine. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I was on mute before. Yeah, we did put together the RFQ. We sent it around to the redevelopment agency, planning and zoning, transit district, and public works for their comments. So it is ready to go. We have all their comments ready to go, and we will be working with the purchasing department to put those documents together.
So that's just for an RFQ.
Just for an RFQ, yes, for now.
Okay. And when you get the proposals back, would you please send them to the traffic authority as well so we can take a look?
Yes, I foresee that the department will have regular updates with the traffic authority since it is a transportation master plan.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the police department? Okay, well, the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 19th. At that time, or probably in the next couple of weeks, we'll determine whether this will be an in-person meeting. I think we'll determine, well, it still says 6:30. We'll probably meet maybe one more time at 6:30 and see how it goes. I know when we start meeting in person, we might want to continue at 6:30, but we've tried that in the past and we still did not increase public participation. So having said that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the traffic authority meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Collier Clemens, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we adjourn at 7:32. Now, Chief, you said we have to close out and go on to another meeting,
Yeah, you got a link for the police commission, which is a separate link.
okay.
Good
So
evening,
we'll leave
everybody.
this meeting. We'll leave this meeting.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
You're gonna give me a couple of seconds to get on.
Yeah, I have to log in there anyway, so.